Tonight on Capitol Hill, a sharp clash over crime, justice, and the future direction of the Department of Justice took center stage during Pam Bondi's confirmation hearing, and what unfolded was not just another round of partisan sparring, but a window into how deeply divided Washington remains over law and order in America. If you are finding this kind of breakdown helpful and want more clear, no-nonsense explanations of what really happens inside these hearings, make sure to subscribe to the channel.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Bondi, I know that you are pleased that we are moving to the end of round one. And we appreciate your being here. And I appreciate that you told my California colleagues you were willing to work with them, even in light of the manner in which they have approached you. Now, one thing I think we need to have everybody understand that is watching this hearing today and everyone sitting in here, what we have witnessed over the last 4 years with a weaponized DOJ. My colleagues have talked about this, and the American people know this. They know what was carried out against President Trump and his administration, and in November, they voted to see an end to 2 tiers of justice, 2 tiers of treatment, 2 tiers of access, because they have absolutely had it with the lies, with the accusations, and with the attacks that have come against so many people who were just seeking to live their lives. And then all of a sudden found the FBI or another federal agency or the DOJ knocking at their door. You know, Ms. Bondi, it would make you believe that my colleagues have learned nothing from the elections in November. They don't see this as a movie script that someone may have liked to write. What they see is this is real life. And they want a restoration to equal justice, equal access, equal treatment, abiding by the rule of law. Many of us have talked today about making America safe again. And in Tennessee, I hear a good bit about this. And as we've discussed your nomination, one of the things I've mentioned to people is your career as a prosecutor. And you have touched on that some today. And you are bringing that insight of being a prosecutor to bear. And I do appreciate that. Now, one thing that I think is noteworthy, and in preparation for the hearing, I looked some of these numbers up. During President Trump's first term, violent crime in this country actually fell. Yes. It fell by 17%. And in the first 2 years of the Biden administration, it soared by 43%. This is crime that is taking place in all of our communities. We've seen a rise, whether it's California or Tennessee, we have seen a rise. So I want you to talk to Tennesseans, to Californians, to all Americans about what you're going to do to get this crime rate down in this country.
Senator, thank you for that question. And despite the questions from Senator Schiff, I look forward to working with you and the state of California to do everything we can to fight violent crime in California. And you know as well as I, that crime is only going to go through the roof now after these forest fires. You're going to have looting. You're going to have price gouging. You're going to have so many things that I have dealt with in the state of Florida, and I am committed to working with California just as much as I am committed to working with you, Senator Kennedy, in the tragedy that just took place in Louisiana, given all the human beings that were murdered in your state. And we have the Super Bowl coming up in less than 3 weeks now, I believe, Senator. I've been a little busy. But we've got to ensure, if I'm confirmed, that everyone in this country is safe. and I will work with you. I will work with you, Senator. I will work with all of you in this country. For everything that Senator Blackburn said, we have got to reduce violent crime, and we have got to restore integrity to our law enforcement officers. Donald Trump, we keep saying he won this election by 77.3 million votes and 312 electoral votes. Look at the map of California, Senator Schiff. It's bright red, the popular vote, for a reason. People want law and order. They want to be safe so they can go to take their children to school, so they can go to church, Senator Hawley. People want safe streets. Of course we care about our economy and what's happening in this world. But if we're not safe, none of that works. We have got to come together. We have got to work together to make America safe again. And that, in turn, will make America great again. And I don't know where that phrase has become a bad word, because I think that's a great one. Making America great again.
Let me move on with you to something else that's about law and order, and that is Section 1507. Because making certain that our justices are protected is important, and we also, with our judges, Section 1507 makes illegal any protest outside of a judge's residence if the intent is to influence the judge's decision-making. And we have heard about the protest outside of justices' homes where they were shouting loud and clear things like, and I'm quoting some of that, "If you take away our choices, we will riot," end quote. Another one, "No privacy for us, no peace for you," end quote. In other words, if the justices did not vote to uphold Roe and Casey, the protesters would continue to harass them. Despite this clear violation of the law, Merrick Garland did not bring a single charge, not one single charge, under Section 1507. Will you commit to faithfully enforcing Section 1507 as Attorney General?
I will faithfully enforce that law and all laws that I am asked to review. And Senator, I watched that on TV and it horrified me, the protesters outside their houses. You can't do that for a reason, because our justices have to remain safe and unbiased and protected from threats, as do we all. But they do enjoy a special protection, and yes, that should be enforced.
And thank you, Ms. Bondi. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
As the first round of questioning wrapped up, one senator shifted the tone from procedural formality to a sweeping indictment of the last 4 years. He framed the hearing as more than a personnel decision, arguing it was a referendum on what many conservatives call a weaponized Department of Justice. According to his remarks, millions of Americans believe federal law enforcement was used selectively, aggressively targeting political opponents while giving others a pass. That belief, he said, helped shape the outcome of the November election. This framing matters because it reveals how crime and justice have become political symbols, not just policy debates. For supporters of Pam Bondi, her nomination represents a promise of restoring what they see as equal treatment under the law. For critics, it raises concerns about politicizing justice in the opposite direction. Understanding that tension is key to understanding this hearing. Before moving deeper, take a moment to subscribe so you do not miss future hearings explained with context and clarity. The senator then pivoted to crime statistics, contrasting the Trump administration's record with that of the Biden administration. He claimed violent crime fell significantly during Trump's first term and surged in the early years of the Biden presidency. Whether one agrees with the framing or not, the underlying issue resonates across party lines. Violent crime affects daily life in very real ways, from parents worrying about school safety to small business owners dealing with theft and vandalism. By invoking both Tennessee and California, he emphasized that crime is not a red state or blue state problem, it is a national one. Pam Bondi seized on that point in her response. She positioned herself not as a partisan warrior, but as a career prosecutor who has dealt with crime on the ground. She spoke about disasters, looting, price gouging, and public safety, referencing her experience in Florida and extending it to places like California and Louisiana. Her message was clear: crime spikes during moments of chaos, and the federal government has a responsibility to step in, regardless of politics. This is where the hearing moved from rhetoric into philosophy. Bondi argued that public safety is the foundation for everything else: economic growth, civil liberties, and even democratic participation. Her claim was simple: if people do not feel safe sending their children to school, going to church or walking in their neighborhoods, then nothing else in government truly works. If this kind of analysis is helping you see beyond the soundbites, go ahead and subscribe for more in-depth coverage. The discussion then turned to a specific and often overlooked law, Section 1507, which prohibits protests outside judges' homes when the intent is to influence judicial decisions. This was not an abstract legal debate. The senator referenced real protests outside Supreme Court justices' homes during major abortion rulings, including chants that many saw as direct intimidation. The criticism here was pointed. Despite what some lawmakers described as clear violations of federal law, the Justice Department under Attorney General Merrick Garland did not bring charges under Section 1507. For conservatives, this reinforced the perception of selective enforcement. For them, the question was not whether the protests were political speech, but whether judges and their families should be protected from pressure and threats. If you want continued coverage that explains not just the politics, but the legal and human consequences of these decisions, make sure you are subscribed. As the exchange concluded, one theme kept resurfacing: law and order as a foundational promise to voters. Bondi and her supporters repeatedly pointed to the election results as a mandate for change, arguing that Americans voted for safety, accountability, and a justice system they can trust. Whether that promise will translate into policy or deepen existing divides remains to be seen. But this hearing made one thing clear: the debate over crime and justice is no longer just about statistics or statutes. It is about trust, fear, and the role of government in everyday life. Stay with us, subscribe for more deep dives into hearings like this, and we will continue breaking down what these moments mean long after the cameras stop rolling.